everybody, it's Reckless and welcome to Breaking the Fourth Wall. So, in this video, I will be going over my last subclass update to my Warlock, which I made for the Age of Triumph. I will be going over all three subclasses, armor, and the weapons that I use, as well as I will put a timestamp in the description, that way you can go directly to what you are interested in. But before we get into the video, if you guys enjoy it, hitting that like button and giving your opinion in the comment section below would be greatly appreciated. So, I will be going over all three subclasses, as well as the stats to use for each subclass, the armor, and the weapons in that very order. So, we are actually going to start with my Stormcaller. Now, with my Stormcaller, I like using higher recovery and agility versus armor. And the reason being is I like to get around the map as fast as possible. And that's what I like doing, and obviously, because that's what I like doing. As for my grenade, I like using Arcbolt grenade. I feel it is the better grenade over Storm grenade, which takes a lot longer to actually, proc, as well as Pulse grenade, which I feel is more better for zoning, for like zone control, or like trying to push back adds. So I like using Arcbolt grenade. As for my jump, I like using Focus Burst. Many people can agree with me that this is probably the best jump for the Warlock because it's the closest thing to Titan skating. So, again, best things to use to move around faster. As for my super, I like using Ionic Blink, once again, to get around the map as fast as possible when I'm using that super. As for my melee, I like using Amplitude, which your Thunderstrike has greater range. As for my passive perks, I like using Arcane Force as well as Ancestral Order, obviously to get that higher recovery and agility. I like using Transcendence, which when cast with full grenade and melee energy, Storm Trance restores your health to full and drains slower. And I couple that with my favorite Electrostatic Mine, which Storm Trance charges faster when allies are near. When Storm Trance is active, nearby enemies take damage. So, the objective of my Stormcaller is to actually move around the map as fast as possible, killing as many enemies as you can as fast as possible. With that being said, when it comes to the tiers of stats that you want as much as intellect and strength as you can get, and obviously heavy grenades at a decent amount. But tier 5 intellect and tier 5 strength is definitely the focus for your Stormcaller. The next subclass we'll be going over is the Sunsinger. Now, real quick, the only subclasses that do not change in PvE and PvP are my Stormcaller as well as my Voidwalker. My Sunsinger does change. So, for my Sunsinger, I like focusing higher on armor and recovery versus what I did with my Stormcaller, which is recovery and agility, just because I feel that the Sunsinger is a little squishy. So, higher armor and recovery, I feel is best for this subclass. For my grenades, I like using the ever so awesome fusion grenades. And yes, I do couple that with Gift of the Sun, which gains you an additional grenade. I know what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, you're a little pussy, you use sticky grenades, whatever, who cares? I stick you, you die, I move on. Simple. If you don't like getting stuck by sticky grenades, then hey, learn how to evade. There's plenty of ways to evade. Warlocks have Blink. Titans have Twilight Garrison. And Hunters have Blink. Or they also have Shade Step. So learn to evade, use those evades, and you won't have to worry about getting stuck. I'm sorry. It's just something I like. I prefer it over Firebolt Grenade, but I used to use Firebolt Grenade when it was actually good. It's not good no more. So I learned how to use sticky grenades. I'm sorry. For my jump, I like using Focus Burst. Obviously, it's once again the fastest thing closest to a Titan skate. So I guess you can call it Warlock Skating. And yes, there were quotes on both of those. As for my super, depending on what I'm doing, I will actually use Radiant Skin, which I primarily use all the time on my Sunsinger, whether it be PvE or PvP, for just regular Crucible or just everyday things. However, if my partners are dying a lot in PvE, then I will switch to Fireborn just in case I die and we attempt to wipe. or I will use Fireborn in the event that I am also doing trials with my Sunsinger. However, I don't do trials with my Sunsinger that much anymore. As for my melee, I like using Flame Shield, which damaging an enemy with Scorch reduces incoming damage for a short time. Even though Flame Shield was nerfed not too long ago, it is still a valuable perk to use. As for my passive perks, I like using Arcane Force as well as Divine Order. Once again, higher armor recovery I feel is best on this subclass. As for this wonderful column, I like using Radiant Will, which increases the duration of Radiance. And as for my last, once again, I use Gifts of the Sun, which gives you an additional grenade. I was gonna say an additional gift grenade. Ridiculous. So in regular PvE, Gift of the Sun with Radiant Will, Flame Shield active, and using Radiant Skin is amazing. Obviously, fusion grenades, you just kill things for days and just run up to throw a grenade, jump, run up, throw it, jump. It's just amazing. I love it. As for this subclass, you want to focus more on intellect and discipline. And that's for, once again, your Sunsinger. Intellect and discipline, I feel, is the best for this subclass, just because you want to get those grenades as fast as possible to keep throwing them. Obviously, I still like using tier 5 for intellect and discipline. So, yeah, that's what I feel that you guys should use. As for my last subclass, my ever so awesome Year 1 Voidwalker Warlock. Now, the subclass has changed since Year 1 several times. Obviously, you test what's good and what's not good. And for my Voidwalker, I prefer having higher recovery and agility over armor, just for the same reason as my Stormcaller, to get around the map as fast as possible. Now, as for my grenade, I like using Arcbolt grenade. I feel that the secrets on Arcbolt grenade are a lot better than the secrets on scatter grenade if you are just using one grenade. And I'll talk about that in just a second. And the same thing for Vortex grenade, I feel is mostly better for zoning, zone control, or just trying to keep enemies at a certain area. As for my jump, I love Blink. I don't care what a lot of people say. A lot of you say, I hate Blink. Blink sucks. Blink's horrible, terrible, whatever. You can say whatever you want about Blink. I have jumped over supers constantly with Blink, turn around and supered the enemies with Lance, which is what my super is. And it is amazing. I love it. I have got away from Death from Above, regular Titan Smashes, Tethers, Blade Dancers, other Warlocks. You know, I have gotten away with Blink and Lance combo together amazingly. Which is why I love using my Voidwalker Warlock in everything I do for PvE and PvP. I will even go into raids with my Voidwalker Warlock because I learned how to master the art of not dying. So, as for my melee, I like using Lifesteal, which helps with not dying. And what Lifesteal does is damage an enemy with energy drain, immediately restores a significant portion of your health. You couple Lifesteal with Embrace the Void, which killing enemies with Nova Bomb or any of your grenade triggers energy drain and restores your health, is how you stay alive. That's what I do, and it works. As for my passive perks, I like using Arcane Force as well as Ancestral Order, obviously for that higher recovery and agility. I like using Annihilate, which increases the size and explosion created by Nova Bomb and grenades. And the reason why I use this is because if I see two enemies that are evenly spaced apart, I know for a fact that if I lance one of them directly on them, it's not going to kill the other one. So what I usually do is I aim Lance directly in between both of them, and the explosion is big enough to hit both of them. And obviously anybody else who's coming around the corner. So that's what I like using. As well as using Annihilate for grenades. You know, using the Axion Bolt, a bigger explosion definitely will do damage to other people as well. Now, I do not like using Bloom, and I do not like using Vortex Mastery. I feel that Vortex Mastery is better. Yes, I still feel that it is better on your wonderful Vortex Grenade, even though it does specify Axion Bolt as well. But the reason why I don't use Vortex Mastery for the Axion Bolt is because, and I'll get to this, the Ophidian aspect, which I actually use Snap Discharge as well as Energy Projection, which increases grenade throw distance. I don't need my Axion Bolts to go farther if I can throw it farther, you know? So it's kind of pointless of a perk to use. So, with my Voidwalker Warlock, I feel that you guys should have full intellect and discipline and at least tier 2 in strength as much as possible. I'm still trying to get there with that intellect, but I am full discipline as well as tier 2 in strength, which is where I want to be. So that's all the subclasses. Now let's go to armor. So for armor, I actually prefer Better Already for this last perk. However, I don't have a helmet that is tier 12 with Better Already. If you guys don't know what tier 12 is, I will put a link to a video that I did in the description. That way you guys can actually find out what tier 12 is. So Better Already in this section is what I prefer, as well as Access to Assets and Angel of Mercy. Those two perks are beautiful when you couple them with Better Already. So if you haven't noticed, I like using the Ophidian aspect. I like using the Ophidian aspect on all 3 subclasses. All 3. 1, 2, 3. I main this on all 3 subclasses regardless. So, Ophidian aspect gives you Viper Totemic, which improves energy drain and weapons ready and reload very quickly. Now, granted, the weapons ready and reload very quickly is better, is still good on your Sunsinger as well as your Stormcaller. But the first part of Viper Totemic, which improves energy drain, helps dramatically on your Voidwalker Warlock. As you guys know, I do use Snap Discharge and Energy Projection. Snap Discharge increases melee attack speed, as well as Energy Projection increases grenade throw distance. For my chest piece, any chest piece that has Void Armor is definitely what you use. I actually need a different one because I'm not using shotguns or auto rifle, so these 2 perks don't really help me out that much. As for my boots, anything with Void Double Down works. I like using a lot of Void weapons as well as my Void subclass, so Void Double Down definitely helps out as much as possible. Mine also has sidearm ammo as well as machine gun ammo because I use both. As for your Warlock bond, you can use whatever tier 12 bond you have. I have like 4 different Warlock bonds that are at 100%. So I'll either use the Harley Quinn Pendulum, or I will use the Iron Saga bond, mostly because I like those too. As for my artifact, I like using the Memory of Yolder, and this is again still on all my subclasses, just because it removes that sprint cooldown penalty. So no sprint lock, which is amazing. I hate sprint lock, especially on a Voidwalker. So that's pretty much all of the armor. For my weapons, now I will go into PvE and PvP all at once, that way I'm not going backwards. Oh, I'm sorry, before I get into that, as for my ghosts, I still use the Iron Wolf shell. This one is a tier 12 100% shell. I do have a couple of other shells that are 100%, like this Sunlit shell, and that obviously has different perks on it. This one has Discipline and Strength, and this one has Intellect and Discipline, which is the only 2 that I actually use. So, back to weapons. For PvP, I like using the Palindrome. This Palindrome obviously has Outlaw as well as Luck in the Chamber. I know not a lot of people like using that. And if I don't use the Palindrome, I will switch to my Mighty Multi-Tool. And my Mighty Multi-Tool is awesome because it has the Special Ops ornament on it. As for PvE, I will switch to the Fatebringer or the Vision of Confluence. I still do not have a Legendary Vision, but I do want to get one. So hopefully we can go into the raid later on today and get a Legendary Vision of Confluence. But mainly I will use the Fatebringer and pretty much just go from there. For special weapons, I love using my newer Queen's Choice. This one is Arc. My old one was Solar. And I like using this over the Wormwood. And I'll show you why. Now, this is the original Wormwood that you could have gotten from the vendor, Lashme, when it was sold before they allowed re-rolls. But let me show you something. Let me show you something. So this is the Queen's Choice. This is how much more the Queen's Choice is better than the Wormwood. It has more range, more stability, more reload speed, and a magazine of 15, which is 3 more rounds in a magazine than a Wormwood. And I know a lot of people think that's, you know, significant. However, if you are going into a gunfight with just your sidearm, and I'm not saying run around the map with just your sidearm like I did in one of my previous videos, but if you are going into a match with just a sidearm, the best thing for this, I would say, is being able to get 2 kills without having to reload. And I do it all the time. With the Wormwood, you don't have enough rounds to get 2 kills, even if you're doing headshots. You just do not have enough rounds after like shooting off and killing one person. You really don't. Which is why I like using the Queen's Choice over the Wormwood. So, with that said, as you can see, more range, stability, reload speed, and a magazine of 15. However, that's because I have high caliber rounds on. If I switch to reinforced barrel, and even though it gives me a little bit more range, it brings down my stability, it is still better than the Wormwood, with a lot more range, a little bit better stability, with still higher reload speed and magazine. So I still haven't decided which perk I actually like using, which is high caliber rounds or reinforced barrel, but high caliber rounds, being able to stagger them, you know, seems what I feel is a lot better. So that's what I use in PvP. Now, for PvE, most likely I will use my Ex Machina as well as my Praetorian Foil. Obviously, for certain raids or certain things I like doing, I'll even use my Queen's Choice, depending on what the burn is. Matador is okay, don't really use it that much. Obviously, shotguns aren't really that good anymore, but they still are useful. I actually did a video on the Matador 64 proving that it was still good. So, yeah. I'll put a link to the description for that one as well. As for my heavy weapons, now in PvP, whoops, switch that. In PvP, I will still use my Zombie Apocalypse, and I will use it over my Silver Dread, even though my Silver Dread has a little bit more range, a little bit more reload speed, but still has a magazine of 39. And the reason why I would use it is because of Rangefinder. Rangefinder still gives me that little bit more range and stability, and it's not like you're going to be running around killing everything in PvP. You know, because you only have a certain amount of rounds that you're given. So, I still feel that the Zombie Apocalypse is better than the Silver Dread. That's just my opinion. And that's for PvE. I will use a rocket, you know, whether it be Suros or the Iron Gallahorn, which I love looking at. It's just amazing. But anyways, as for PvE, I will use my Sleeper Simulant, or I will use my Dark Drinker. That's pretty much it. They're self-explanatory, you know. If you don't know what a Dark Drinker is, it's amazing. If you don't know what a Sleeper Simulant is, it's amazing as well. So I do understand that this video was probably my longest, and I apologize for that. However, I am extremely excited about Destiny 2, and I most likely will be going in with a Warlock as well. That's just me. So, and that, my friends, brings us to the end of the video. I know it was long, and I greatly apologize once again. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, share it if you felt it to be helpful. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications in order to keep up to date with all of my videos. Feedback in the comments is effective because it really helps the channel to grow. Thank you guys for all of your support. I'm Reckless, and remember, own your success, and I will see you guys next time.